All right, so welcome. We've gotten our foot done. Now we need to actually make the second one, which is a pretty straightforward process. What we want to do is we're going to use a mirror command, or we're going to just mirror this over a certain distance. Now to get this right, we want it to be the right distance away. So what we're going to do first is we're going to create an offset plane, a construction plane. So we're going to do an offset plane from here, from the outside of the leg. So that's the outside face of the leg. And we're going to push it. We have that measurement for the width of the hips. So we're going to do hips. But we want to go the other way. We want to go like outside in. So I'm going to actually do negative hips. But I don't want it the full distance because this is going to be a mirror plane. This is going to be the halfway point between the legs. So what I'm going to do is actually do hips divided by 2. And then I'm going to hit enter. Now that just gave me a construction plane that's halfway between my legs. Now what I can do is I can create, and go back to the view, you can see what happens. I can do create and a mirror. It's set to faces. I want to set to bodies because I want to mirror the entire body, not just a face of it. I'm going to highlight all of those so all objects are selected. I can check in my leg here. All of them are selected. And the mirror plane is going to be this. You can see right away it's already starting to build the other foot for me. I'm just going to click OK. And now I have 2 feet. And notice how I have all these new pieces. So I created new pieces for me and numbered them. Real quick, I'm going to control this by just saying, okay, this is the left leg. Whoops. This is, I don't know what I did. Sometimes when I typed in there, it doesn't go in for whatever reason. Left leg, which means I'm going to redo this one and call this one the right leg. Okay, and then I'm going to drop all of these left leg ones into the left leg, and those in the right leg. Now I can hide each leg whenever I need to. All right, so that's it. Now one of the nice things is, notice down here, this is the mirror command in our history bar. If I want to do something that affects both legs, say I forgot to do something, maybe I forgot to cut this piece or something like that. Well, when I mirrored it, I mirrored that mistake into the second leg. To fix that mistake and have it be fixed in both instead of fixing it twice, just move your history marker before this mirror plane, and then whatever you do to this leg, after you move it back across the mirror plane, will be mirrored to the new one. If for some reason you want to do something different on this leg that wasn't on this leg, then you just have to do it after the mirror plane, and whatever you change now on these 2 legs won't be on the other leg. So it's kind of a cool way of thinking that you can go backwards in time, change something, and then it'll get reflected back through all your work, or just don't go backwards in time and you can do new stuff. So I think it's a fun way to think about it. All right. So what's next now is we need to create the hips. So what we'll do is we'll create, let me grab the hips real quick. So this front piece and this back piece are just coverings. We're going to create those last. The first piece we're going to create is this one. So it's got an outside face here. It's got all 10 layers through here, and then an inside face through here that ends right here. So the outside and inside parts of the leg are different lengths. And then there's another piece going across here, which we'll do later on. That's just a separate piece. And this piece actually goes all the way across to the outside hips coming out right there. But for right now, what we'll do is we'll do this one side, and then once we're done, we'll use that same mirror plane and mirror it right across to the other side. So it'll be super easy once we get it rocking and rolling. All right. So what I'm going to do is work on the right leg again. I'm going to turn the left leg off. And I'm going to come down here to my constructions. I'm going to turn off my plane 3 real quick. I don't need to be seeing that the whole time. And then I'm just going to rotate to, I think the outside of the leg is where I'm going to start. And I am going to create a sketch. Yeah, I'm going to create a sketch on the outside face. So I'm going to extrude this thing to the inside. And what I want to do is I want to project some stuff because I need to know where to line up my thigh. So the middle of the outside of the thigh should be right through here. Then the circle is going to kind of kick down below. So to be able to get this, I'm going to project this face onto my drawing. Click flat for my left drawing and click OK. This tells me where my rectangle needs to be. So it's going to go here, here, and then the height is going to be the thigh length. So I'm going to do thigh. Nope, that was thickness. Thigh. Good. And now this thigh, remember we measured it from the middle of our knee joint, which is right there in the middle of the knee joint, to the middle of our hip. So where our hip joint is. But our hip, that would put us right in the middle of this joint here. So we actually need to go up to the other rest of the height on the outside, which is 5 thicknesses higher. So this whole thing is 10. We're halfway up there. We want 5 more. So on the thigh, I'm just going to do thigh. Whoops. Plus thickness times 5. So that should get me right to the top of it. And then I'm going to try and, I'm not going to try and line up this right side because I'm going to do it with a constraint later. So right now I'm going to go grab the collinear tool. I'm going to say I want this outside edge collinear with that outside edge. And now it's brought right into the right size. If I try and line it up by eye and click, I oftentimes won't get the right dimension. It'll be off by a tiny little bit. So by using the collinear tool, it guarantees that they are right in line with each other. So the constraint tools are awesome to use. Now I just need to do the rounded over part down here. So I'm just going to grab a circle tool. I'm actually going to hide the leg now that I know where everything is. I'm just going to grab a circle tool. I'm going to draw it out there, and I'm going to get that circle. And right there is my first outside thigh. So I'm going to extrude. I want this piece, and that piece. And I want to make sure I'm extruding back in. Let me show you where the leg is real quick. I'm going to be extruding in the opposite direction the arrow is pointing, so I'm going to use a negative thickness here. And I'm going to hide the leg so that it doesn't actually join the two things together if they're touching. And yeah, that looks good. So, okay. So there's piece number 1. Now this next one, it means we have to build it across this way. So I'm going to switch over to this side. And now I'm going to extrude out towards me. I'm going to create a sketch on this surface. And then I'm going to put a line like anywhere. And now I'm going to dimension that line. And I'm going to dimension it from this point to here. And before we used about 5, I'm going to use 5.25 centimeters. The reason I'm doing that is when I was going to build this, all these joints, if you build them exactly the same dimensions, they all look the same. And it's really hard to sort the pieces. So by making the leg ones 5 centimeters and this one 5.25, I'll be able to tell, oh, all 10 of these go together and all 10 of these go together. And your life will be much easier. So just make it different in some small amount. That way you can sort them later. So this number is not important. All that's important is that not all the knee joints are all the same. The knee joints aren't the same as the thigh joints, is the same as whatever. Okay. If you didn't quite understand that, that's okay. Make them different. You'll understand it when you go to sort your pieces later because there's a lot of pieces in this. Now I'm ready to extrude this already, actually. So I'm going to click here. I'm going to say extrude. And notice the hole is there already, which is kind of cool. And I'm going to extrude this towards me. And I want to do 8 layers towards me. So I'm going to do this as thickness. Whoa, what just happened? I don't know what just happened. So I'm going to extrude again. And I'm going to go thickness times 8. Times 8. And enter. All right. Now, once again, we're going to go, yeah, why not? We're just going to click, we're going to do the outside edge, right? So we did the outside edge, now we do the inside of the leg. So I'm going to click on this, create a sketch here. That's already got that piece. So now I just need to, I'm going to just project actually, this back square onto here. So now that's the exact same length, except that outside length goes all the way to the top here. Well, we want this inside leg right in through here. This is the inside piece we're making right now. We want this to be 9 short of that, 9 thicknesses short, because we still want to have it overlapping with this piece. We want to have a little piece go in there and create a joint. So we're going to do 9 thicknesses short of that. To do that, I'm just going to drag a random line straight across, and then I'm going to dimension that line and make sure that it's just 9 thicknesses short times 9. Now it's 9 thicknesses short of that one. So it'll be just inside the other joint. I think that'll work. If not, we can fix it later. And so now I've got that. So I just need to extrude this. So extrude this one and this one only. And we're going to do it. Let's make sure it's in the right direction. Yep, it's in the right direction. 1 thickness. Oh, it did that again. That is so bizarre. It does that sometimes. Extrude. I got to figure out what's happening when it does that. Thickness. And I'm going to push enter. That's just right. So now there is our thigh piece. Awesome. All right, so now what we need to do is cut the slots in this one. So for this one, instead of having 2 inside pieces solid, the 2 places that are inside are actually cut away. So we'll cut away 2 slots there, and we'll learn how to line all that up. First of all, let's turn our right leg on. And now notice how this joint is starting to work. So there's really 2 ways to cut this joint. You know what, let's look at a different way here. What we're going to do is we're going to actually create this into a joint, and then we're going to rotate it around its full distance, and then use this lower one to cut it. So here's how we're going to do this. We're going to say No, I don't want to do it that way. I've changed my mind. So one thing to notice here is that this is going to be cut at the same angle as this one, but up in this direction. And it needs to be in this direction so there's space for this to rotate through and overlap. So it's got to be on the back side here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a construction plane. I'm going to hide my right leg real quick. Not a construction plane, sorry. I want a tangent plane. Tangent plane. And what a tangent plane, when we use it is when we have a curved surface like this. That's when we use a tangent plane. So I'm going to click on that. It's going to create that surface just like that. Now I'm going to turn my right leg on so I can see sort of which way. And I need to go 45 degrees in that direction. So before the number was like 135. Oh wait, no, maybe I don't, because I'm on the bottom right now. See, I'm on the outside the joint. I actually want to rotate it around here. Right there is 180. So now I'm on the other side of the circle. And I need to go 45 degrees in the other direction. So 45 degrees this way would be negative 135. Now that number may not mean the same number it may not be the same number for you, depending on how Fusion was thinking about rotating it. It might be, you know, a positive 135, it might be a 45. But what you want to do is make sure your plane is on the back side of the joint, so on the top side of this circle here, and that it's going 45 degrees above horizontal. So, you know, you just got to figure out what that is. It might be this, but it might be something different. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. Now I'm going to hide that right leg, and I'm going to create a sketch on the construction plane. And now I need to cut away the 2 in the middle here. And I'll show you how to do that. I'm just going to create a rectangle. And right now I'm not going to do anything with dimension. I'm just going to make a random rectangle. I'm going to make another random rectangle right here. It doesn't really matter. And now I'm going to go dimension them. So this should be 2 thicknesses wide. So thickness times 2. This should also be 2 thicknesses wide. So thickness times 2. And then I'm going to project the outside edges of the, oh, maybe I can see them actually. Let's see if I can just grab them. I'm going to dimension from this outside, yeah, I can grab it. From this one to this one. And this one is going to be thickness times 2 as well. because I want to have 2 thicknesses followed by 2 thicknesses, 2 thicknesses, 2, 2, 2, 2, right? So they're all 2 thicknesses away. So then I'm going to dimension this one to that one, and this one's also thickness times 2. And now once I've done that, this distance here should be thickness times 2 as well. So 0.533-ish. Let's just do a quick inspection. We'll do a measure and we'll say, how far is it from here to here? Oh, that's confusing. So it's a different, I was like, it's the wrong number, but here's why, is that it's measuring tipped at an angle. See how it's tipped up at an angle? It's measuring to that corner. So we just grabbed the wrong things. So let's not do the measure tool. We know it works. The angle is going to make things pretty confusing. Okay, so I'm going to rotate back around to where I can see it. And then I'm just going to extrude these. So I'm going to do an extrude of this one and this one. I'm going to make sure it's extruding that's in the wrong direction. So I'm going to just grab it and pull it this way. Pull it just past. No reason to do a ton of extra. And then click OK. And bam, I've got my joint cut. Look how nice that looks. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom back out. I'm going to turn on the right leg, maybe go back to the home position, and then come look at this. Yeah, that's going to work out great. So as this rotates down, this part of the leg down here will fit into that slot up there. So that's the joint. Done, done, and done. So at this point, what we need to do, because the front face and the back face go on both legs, I think at this point we kind of have to, well, we can do one thing before we do the mirror. What we're going to do is we're going to build in the one joint right there. And hopefully this will work. So hopefully it's in the right place. I'm going to create, on the inside of the thigh, I'm going to create a sketch. And I'm just going to cut away. So this one's thickness. I'm just making that one tab that's going to go inside one. I'm going to center that on that. And then I'm going to just draw a random line right across there. Use my collinear tool and say, make that one line up with that one. And now I can extrude this and this. And I'm going to do it a negative thickness across there and click OK. And now I'm going to take a look. Now I have a little tab to fit in. There's going to be that bottom of the thigh piece coming all the way across this one and into that one. All right, so now we're ready to turn our construction plane back on. So I think it was plane 3. Yep, plane 3 is the one we want. Turn that back on, and then let's just mirror, turn the other leg back on, and let's mirror this one across. So I'm going to come here and go create, mirror. I want to mirror this body, and I'm going to do it with this selection plane. Sure enough, right there is where it ends up, and it's perfectly lined up with the other one, all ready to go. So that's pretty good progress so far. All right, so I think next what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this joint, I'm going to build this one straight across here. And to do that, it might be easiest to do it as a thin rectangle here and then extrude it back all the way across to there. So I'm going to create my construction plane on the outside of this one. I'm going to rotate back around just so I can see the inside. And I'm going to do a projection of this. That'll let me see where that joint is. I'm going to rotate back around to the right. I'm going to do a few checks real quick. So I want to inspect. I want to go from this line to this line. And we get 2.665, which is the 10 thicknesses. So that's perfect. If your thicknesses were different, make sure it matches to your thicknesses. That's mine. So I'm going to finish sketch. So that's correct. If this wasn't 10 thicknesses, I would have known I made a mistake on this height somewhere. I want to go fix that. So now what I'm going to do is just use this as a way of doing my thin rectangle. That helps me line it up. Wait. I just clicked. I don't know how I got out of that sketch. I'm going to go back and edit my sketch here. So now I'm back in the sketch. For somehow I finished the sketch accidentally. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to make this rectangle. I'm going to make it too big for now because what I'm going to do is use my collinear tool to make sure that it lines up perfectly with that one. Now I'm ready to extrude, and I'm going to extrude all three of these, and I'm going to extrude them not a distance, I'm going to extrude them all the way through. So I'm going to say to this object, why can't I select? There it is, to this object, and it's going to assume I want to cut everything, but I'm going to say, nope, I want a new body. And then I'm going to say, okay. And so now I've got body 21, 22. Okay, so I need to start naming these. So this is the right thigh. 22 should be the L thigh. And there it is. And this one should be the bottom thigh. And I'm going to make a new group. I'm going to call that group thigh. I'm going to take all three of these and drop them into the thigh group just to stay a little better organized. And that looks good so far. So next thing to do, I'm trying to decide. So let's put, that's going to get cut. Let's put the top on. Why not? So I'm going to come back over here. I actually could have done this and this one on the same one, but I didn't. So I'm going to go here to here. And then I should have typed in the thickness a second ago, but I just forgot. Thickness there. And then I'm going to extrude this one exactly like I did before, all the way across to object, to that object, and I want a new body. And then that is the top thigh. And then, yeah, so then I'm going to actually click, I'm going to go here. Now I'm going to do the front of it, right? So I'm going to do a rectangle for all, like overlapping rectangles for all of this. So to do that, I'm going to want this line here. So I'm going to project this line, this line, this line. Actually, I'm going to just do all of these lines, and that will give me sort of what I'm looking for. And I'm going to say, okay. Yep, now I have all these squares built in. I just need to do the distance different down here. So I'm going to do a line here. And I'm going to dimension this one from here to here. And I'm going to do that, I don't know, like 0.5. Let's see what that looks. Yeah, that looks good. I'm going to do that at 0.5 centimeter. Because I don't want to build the front sheet. Notice how it comes up a little bit from the joint. So I need to be a little bit up the joint front. So that's where that black line is. And then I'm going to do the same thing on this other side. Random lines somewhere in the middle-ish or somewhere on it. Not in the middle for sure, actually, because then it'll be stuck there. And then I'm going to dimension from here to the top of the joint. I'm going to call that 0.5. And now I'm just ready to extrude, I think. So extrude this piece, this piece, this piece, this piece, and that piece. Do I have everything? I think so. And I want to look which way I want to extrude. So this one I want to extrude into the leg. That way I have a joint that's overlapping. So I need a negative thickness here. So negative thickness. Oops. Negative thickness. And ooh, I don't want to cut it. I want to do a new body. Click OK. And this is going to be, let me see where the toes are. Yep, this is the front of the thigh. So this is front thigh. And I'm going to repeat that process on the back thigh. So I'm going to grab onto, I'm going to create a drawing. This time I'm going to create it on this front face right there. And then I'm going to project all these exterior lines that I need. Let me close that. I'm going to project that exterior line, that one, that one, that one, that one. Yeah, and the top one I already have, so I'm going to say OK. Now I've got enough to be able to do it with, but I need to make the joint off of here. So I need to do a random line from this side to this side, and another one from this side to this side. And now I'm going to dimension both of these 0.5 centimeter away. Zoom in here, 0.5 away. Yeah, that looks great. I'm ready to extrude now. So I'm going to extrude this one, this one, this one, that one. Yep. And then I want to extrude, I'm going to extrude back into it. So I'm going to use a negative thickness here, negative thickness, and enter. Oh, I just cut. So I just screwed up and didn't put new body, so I just cut a gap for it. So I'm just going to right click on the last extrude, edit feature, and then I'm going to come here and say I don't want to do a cut, I want to do a new body. And then I want to click OK. And then my body 46, I'm going to do back thigh. Okay, now I'm going to zoom back out.